Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications.
The growing and forceful movement against diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) programs in universities is explored in an article in the New York Times. The article examines the case of Bert Ellis, a University of Virginia alumnus and co-founder of the Jefferson Council, which opposes DEI programs. Governor Glenn Youngkin recently appointed Ellis to the university's Board of Trustees, as part of his efforts to overhaul education. The article notes that lawmakers in 19 U.S. states have taken up legislation to limit or block university DEI programs. Attacks on DEI come at a crucial pivot point, as the Supreme Court is expected to rule against race-conscious affirmative action in the next few months. Depending on the reach of the court's ruling, DEI programs could become more crucial in attracting and retaining Black and Hispanic students. At the University of Virginia, the DEI debate cuts to a bigger question: what should a university look like, value, and honor? But supporters of DEI programs argue that they are necessary to ensure that universities are inclusive and welcoming to all students, regardless of their background. They argue that promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion helps create a more robust and dynamic academic community that fosters innovation and excellence. Critics of DEI programs, on the other hand, argue that these programs are divisive and counterproductive. They claim that DEI programs are based on the flawed notion of identity politics and that they encourage discrimination against certain groups, particularly white people and Asian Americans. The debate over DEI programs is playing out across the country, with lawmakers and university officials on both sides of the issue. As the article notes, the Supreme Court is expected to rule soon on affirmative action, which could have a significant impact on the future of DEI programs at universities. Regardless of the outcome of the Supreme Court's decision, it seems likely that the debate over DEI programs will continue for some time. Universities will need to grapple with questions about what it means to create a truly inclusive and diverse academic community, while also balancing the concerns of alumni, donors, and lawmakers who may hold different views on these issues. The article describes how Governor Youngkin, after taking office, banned the teaching of critical race theory in public schools and formed a commission to screen new members for state university boards. Edward J. Foilner, the founder of the Heritage Foundation and head of the commission, stated that reining in DEI was a priority. The article then goes on to describe the controversy surrounding one of the governor's board member appointments, Mr. Ellis, who was accused of being a racist, homophobe, and eugenicist by the campus newspaper, the Cavalier Daily. However, Mr. Ellis disputed these accusations and claimed that he was misrepresented in the coverage. The article also describes a campus incident in which a student hung a sign protesting slavery, genocide, and KK cops, which sparked opposing reactions from the faculty and alumni. Finally, the article reports that Mr. Ellis's appointment to the university board was narrowly confirmed by the General Assembly despite student protests. The controversy over DEI at the University of Virginia reflects a larger national debate over the role of race and equity in education. Governor Youngkin's ban on critical race theory and related concepts has been replicated in several other states, and has drawn criticism from educators and civil rights advocates who argue that it amounts to censorship and whitewashes history. Critics of Mr. Ellis's appointment to the university board argue that his views on race and diversity are out of step with the values of the institution, which has long grappled with its legacy of slavery and discrimination. In recent years, the university has made efforts to acknowledge that legacy and promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. The student who hung the sign on her dorm room door, Ziona Bryant, is now a student at the University of Virginia and has become a prominent activist for racial justice. In an interview, she said that Mr. Ellis's appointment to the board sent a message that we don't value the experiences and the perspectives of Black and brown students, and that we don't value their safety. Ms. Bryant, who was 18 at the time of the incident, said that she put up the sign because she was exhausted by racism on campus and wanted to start a conversation about how the university could do more to promote equity and inclusion. "I was not saying that every person on this campus is a KKK member," she said. "I was saying that this university has not addressed the ways in which white supremacy manifests itself." Ms. Bryant said that she was heartened by the formation of the Jefferson Council and hoped that it would lead to a productive dialogue about the university's past and future. But she said that she remained skeptical of Mr. Ellis's views on race and diversity. He's not the only person who thinks that way, but it's just not something that I believe aligns with the values of the University of Virginia, she said. I think that we should be actively trying to dismantle white supremacy and not just trying to sweep it under the rug. The University of Virginia is facing ongoing conflict over the legacy of its founder, Thomas Jefferson. While some students and faculty members have called for the removal of Jefferson's statue and questioned his historical significance, University President Jim Ryan has pledged to provide more context about Jefferson's legacy while also affirming the university's commitment to Jefferson. However, some members of the Jefferson Council remain skeptical, arguing that the university's tours and hiring practices reflect a bias against Jefferson and traditional academic values. The issue has also led to political fissures among the university's board, with some members questioning the role of diversity statements in the hiring process. With new board members expected to be appointed by Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, the debate over Jefferson's legacy and the university's DEI efforts is likely to continue. The controversy surrounding the University of Virginia's approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) is indicative of a broader debate in American society. On one side are those who believe that the country's history of racism and discrimination must be confronted and addressed, while on the other side are those who feel that this approach is overly focused on identity politics and is eroding traditional values and freedoms. In the case of the University of Virginia, the debate is further complicated by the legacy of Thomas Jefferson, one of the country's founding fathers and a complex figure who owned slaves and fathered children with one of them. Some members of the university community feel that Jefferson's legacy should be acknowledged and contextualized, while others argue that he should not be celebrated at all. The addition of a QR code to the Jefferson statue is one example of the university's efforts to provide context, but it remains to be seen whether this will be enough to satisfy those who feel that the university's approach is too one-sided. Meanwhile, the controversy has spilled over into other areas, including the hiring process and the composition of the university's board of trustees. The issue of diversity statements has become a flashpoint, with some arguing that they undermine academic freedom and the integrity of the hiring process. The upcoming addition of 4 new members to the university's board of trustees, who are expected to be more sympathetic to the concerns of those who feel that the university's approach to DEI is misguided, could further fuel the controversy. Overall, the situation at the University of Virginia highlights the challenges of addressing issues of race and identity in a society that is deeply divided on these topics.